it's begging the question. You know, we experience what we experience. We don't. I mean, most of the time we don't experience it flat because few of us live in very, very flat places. Most of us experience some, lumps and bumps. So, I don't think that's
a good point. I usually put a disclaimer after I say that, right? The disclaimer is very simple. We all know that the surface of the Earth has various terrains, right? Mm-hmm. We have high altitudes and lower altitudes and so forth. But no matter how high up you go, no matter how far up you go, when you come down, it always levels out. That's what I mean by flat. Mm-hmm. So yes, we have a terrain that we must engage and experience, but at no point do we ever experience curvature. It's always level. Always. And that's the universal truth for everyone who's ever existed on the planet.
How do you know that? How do you know it's universal for everybody that ever exists? You'd have to ask everybody on the planet that ever lived.
It doesn't matter if they agree with it or not. It's the only way you can experience the Earth.
How do you know?
Because I know, because that's exactly how I experienced it and everyone else experienced it.
Well, you can only know what you experience.
No, I'm not going by thought stuff. I'm going by objective reality. Reality says
it's literally impossible.
How's it literally impossible?
Because you don't know what everybody thinks.
It doesn't matter. It's not about thinking. See, that's the difference.
Because
subjectivity is about thinking.
Yes.
Objectivity is about experiencing.
No.
It's two different things.
No.
Yes. Yes. No. Objectivity is detected by the only means of knowing what is outside of yourself. How do you know?
Objectivity is the known truth. It doesn't matter if
your subjective experience.
Oh God,
you are
this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Not objective.
You're playing with words. No, that's all you guys are doing now. You're trying to win an argument to be right. No one experiences the Earth flat.
No, these are ancient problems in epistemology, and you're
playing with words.
Hold on,
you're playing with words.
I'm not.
If you're going to argue,
let me explain.
You don't experience the Earth flat.
We're really not trying to play a trick here.
No, let me try.
No, you're not playing a trick because it's not working. If you did a trick, it would work. You're not playing a trick. You're playing with language. That's all you're doing right now.
No,
I am telling you, we all experience
the paradox. It's a little bit complex.
See that, guys?
It's a reality.
Hardcore.
It's reality.
Please let me have a go. Please, just let me try.
All right, sorry.
I'm gonna give you a second. You all just admitted you cannot detect curvature on the planet. You just admitted it. But as soon as I come back,
try watching a boat going over the horizon.
You're in a subjective idea in your head.
Watch a boat going over the horizon. Just put that in your universal truth pipe. Oh, guy, he's such a frustrating dude. He's like Cathexis, this vegan warrior guy. He gives you the, you're correct. I agree.
No.
I totally agree. But my universal truth is like, fucking.
Jesus,
he's like a black Cathexis.
The only thing,
Descartes, he's wrong.
Okay, the only thing that you know is that you exist. Beyond that, you then have to start making assumptions.
I disagree.
Okay, tell me how you get from your personal experience to anything else.
No, I'm not going to talk about my personal experience. I'm going to talk about all of our experience. I'm speaking for all of us right now.
But you can't.
Let me get it out.
How do you even know there are other people?
This is how I'm speaking for all of us in a objective.
Hold on, Megan. You've got to stop.
Listen to my point first.
Okay.
Listen to me.
You know, a t-shirt clip. Go, Jet.
Our five senses
exist for one
purpose: to detect that which is outside of ourselves. How do we know anything exists outside of ourselves? Because we use sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. Those five senses is how we know what is real, what is true.
How do you know? Right, some people, I could go to a lunatic and find a guy who thinks he's Napoleon.
I'm not talking to lunatics right now. I'm talking
You
to
believe.
what I'm saying right now.
Let me ask you a question.
Wait, let's start a small sample set first. Small sample set. What I'm saying right now, does it apply to us in this chat?
I think you're missing.
Do you see how your ego works? Do you see how your ego works? How many of you agree? How many of you agree with that?
But you're missing the point. In your reality,
the reason you didn't agree is because you're engaged in winning an argument. You don't want to address. You don't want to address the.
I went for the blue and white just for the whole water thing. Like it, like that, guys. 100 quid and it's yours. 100 quid. Flat Earthers can buy this for 100 quid. We got.
Wait, come on, let me get it out. Come on, let me get a sentence out.
Go ahead.
You cannot tell if those things are reliable. The only way you can begin to tell if those things are reliable is if you start to make various presuppositions. Like, for instance, I presuppose as part of my my worldview, I presuppose that other intelligent minds exist. But I have no way of knowing, because everything I'm experiencing could be just a product of my own mind. It could be I could be a lunatic imagining it all. I could be a brain in a vat. I have that's having, you know.
You could be in the Matrix.
Into it electronically.
I was like the Matrix, you know.
Yeah, or the Matrix.
Seen the movie, like how.
Oh, the Matrix.
The Matrix.
Did you say
Here we go, man.
See the movie? Did you say
this is an ancient problem of philosophy that is not solved, Bacon.
The reason I can hear him talking is how? Through hearing? Okay.
I think it was René Descartes, a French philosopher, who played with this idea in the 1700s, and it was like he tried to prove everything empirically with empirical evidence, and eventually he started questioning even his senses, because he knew that you dreamed, so your senses could fool you. So the French philosopher Descartes eventually came down to the conclusion that maybe everything is a hologram or an illusion. And then he came up with some phrase like, I think, therefore I am. It's something like cognito del sur, or something like that. But this idea, this strategy that vegan warriors using, it's hundreds of years old. It's hundreds of years old, and it's drove philosophers crazy. And he knows it. He's using this tactic, and everyone falls for it just because he plays a nice guy on top of it.
Because we take our natural tools to know what is real.
We're not saying that we don't.
Your way going off the wagon doesn't have those implications.
Mental delusions to manufacture false realities in our mind to say it's true without the use of our five senses. That's what we do.
I agree, vegan, but I have one question for you. Forgive me, you probably heard this, but you agree that there is a job, a profession, geodetic surveyor, right? Like anyone can become a geodetic surveyor, so they can measure the curve. They can measure the curve. It's so they're experiencing curve.
Are you sure?
Well, I don't know any geodetic survey. I don't know any.
That's it, P. Get stuck in him. Get stuck in.
I would say, yeah.
That's it, P. Didn't take any prisoners.
Great.
Well,
You will regurgitate anything.
yeah, but it's not. I feel like it's not appealing to authority because it's like if I really wanted to, I could become a geodetic surveyor and I can measure.
They are the authority. They are the authority right now because your only needs of knowing.
Because it's not authority. Anyone can be one.
The only means of you knowing that what they do is real is if they tell you. So guess what? They're an authority if you accept it.
Okay, well, I would have to believe that all these people are lying to us, I guess.
I'm not making no.
I would have to believe a lot of people are lying.
I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm not doing any of that. I am talking about how we already have all the tools to know truth.
I don't know.
But
I'd have to
we
believe
ignore
like
those tools, and we fall prey to people like Hitler. We fall prey to people like Bill Clinton and George Bush. We fall prey to these people.
Fall prey. Fall prey.
Reality. And we're doing it with science.
Yeah, I agree.
Who falls prey?
Knowledge to know what's real. We don't know what's up in the sky. We don't know what's at the core of the earth. We don't know what's at the bottom of the ocean, but we accept
They know very much, mate.
And when you accept their dogma.
What I didn't understand with these people is they don't know very much, but they have YouTube channels and declare they don't know nothing. So what benefit is there to their channels at all? Really? Come on, guys. Like, I don't know anything. I don't know. It's like, well, fuck off. It's the same with Dell. I didn't know where we are. I don't know. I don't know what these circles in the sky. And so, well, if you don't know, piss off. You're no good to humans or mankind in general.
Oh, and scientific statement. It's very different.
There can be, but it's still social when you're dealing with people. You can't separate social and when you deal with people. Science puts out information, and the minions grab that information and pass it off as truth.
100 quid.
A lot of
But
times
it's not
that's
true.
right.
It wasn't detected through the five senses. It's not true by definition. It's not objective. We're playing with words, guys.
Like, going back to that, if it is experienced through the five senses, it is not objective by definition. It is subjective. That is not objective truth being. If you experience something, that is subjective.
That's the thing. You can have two people sitting in a room.
But again,
Two people can be sitting in a room and they can look outside and both could say, I think it feels 12 degrees Celsius. Another person could say, I think it feels 15 degrees. Some people feel a little bit colder than others, but there is a objective temperature. It doesn't matter how they feel, the people who feel the temperature. There is an overall objective temperature if you put a thermometer out there. It's like explaining it to these people.
An objective truth and the three subjective truth, because everybody is telling the truth. You know, I feel like 70.
Everybody is not telling the truth. See, that's where we disagree. And maybe that's why we don't agree on the definition. Just because you think something does not make it true.
Okay, they're not telling the truth.
So.
That's right. I was trying to say they are not lying, but they are not telling the truth. You're
right. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're being deceptive. It just means they see something one way. See, our minds create these ideas about reality, but then there is reality.
Exactly.
You have reality, and then you have the creation of what we think reality is.
Yes. Reality is just a construct. That's
so there's
exactly right.
There's a universal truth that exists in this world.
Yes.
And if we
but you don't have the opportunity to get to it.
You don't know it.
The subjective experience.
I just gave you an example and you ignored it. I just gave you an example and you ignored it.
You can't
we
touch
all
it.
experience the earth flat. No person on the
No, it's wrong.
I just gave it. It's objective.
It's not
tangible.
No, it's not.
I don't agree with you guys.
Speak for everyone on the planet.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Because it's universal truth.
How is it universal?
Oh, wow.
Question now. You're saying it's true.
Huh? I'm sorry?
You're begging the question. You're saying it's.
I'm not making a question. I'm making a statement.
You're saying it's true because it's true.
It is you. No, listen to my point.
I'm saying, how do you know it's true? You say it's because it's a universal truth. Well, how do you know it's a universal truth?
Because you can't go against a universal truth.
You are begging the question.
It's a loop.
I'm not making the question.
I'm saying, how do you know it's a universal truth? And you say
because we all experience it.
Because we all experience it. Anything to be a universal truth, and just say, well, it's a universal truth. It can't be wrong.
Because we all experience it. Hear me. We all experience it.
Okay.
How do you know? How do you know?
Listen to me.
Because we all experience it.
How do you know?
You tell me you don't experience it. Tell me.
I'm not telling you that, but you.
I know you're not. Because
Okay,
you can't.
that's one person. That's
you cannot. You cannot say what I'm saying is incorrect.
I can because
the other person
because
is,
so far you've only talked about
Again.
your experience.
again, you want to argue subjectively about something that
Yes,
is
because
universally true. It doesn't work that way.
You don't know it's universally true.
I just told you it did, and you have
Yeah.
to agree with it.
I don't have to agree with you
It's
because what
universally true.
I can please.
You just did.
Let me
You
get a
just agree
sentence.
with me.
Let me get a sentence
You
out.
just agree
Please
with
let
me.
me get one sentence.
Infinite plane society. You didn't need a razor. You didn't even grow hair on your face, you wee bitch.
Let me speak.
You're too busy talking. You don't hear me.
I am hearing you. You're repeating the same thing over and over and over again and not allowing me to
Because
speak.
you haven't gotten it.
And I get 2 words out and you interrupt me.
You still haven't gotten it yet. That's why. I'm gonna be quiet now. Go ahead.
Right? It's you that's not getting it because what you're claiming to be able to do is speak for everyone on the planet. And what
Every single person.
please,
Go
come
ahead.
on.
Go ahead.
And
I just looked at the side. Go ahead.
And what you've done so far is you've told me about your experience and you've asked me
I
about.
talked about everybody's experience. Don't misquote me.
Reagan,
Everybody's
come on.
experience.
Come on.
You're misquoting me. You're misquoting me. Stop misquoting me.
Please. Well, if you let me finish the sentence, but you won't.
You said
And
said
that's
my
why you're
experience.
continuing to misunderstand me, continuing to interrupt me, and we cannot move on. Please
said it so
let
many
me get a
times.
few sentences out.
I've said it so many times that you keep misquoting it. So
Let
that tells
me
me you're
finish
not
the
listening.
sentence, for God's sake.
Listen to me. Why are you getting frustrated?
Because you won't let me speak.
Don't misquote me then.
Right,
If you don't misquote me,
please.
I'll be quiet.
Guys, we
Will you
did so
misquote me?
well.
I'll
We did so well through much worse topics. Come on.
I'm not arguing. I'm just letting him know he's misquoting me. Don't
You're
misquote me. Speak for
completely
yourself.
interrupting. Say the
Speak for
same
yourself.
thing over and over, which you don't need to say.
I
If you
said
let me complete the sentence, you would understand what I'm trying
On you go, Jeremy.
to interrupt me. You're still doing it now.
I
And
said
I
it
cannot
over and
complete
over again.
sentence. I'm going to have one more go, Megan, and then I'm going to give up.
I've said it
It's
over
been
and
good,
over
but
again.
you've
and
gone a
he's
bit
still-
now.
I've said it over and over again, and he still keeps misquoting me. That tells you how much he's listening.
Yeah, you're repeating the same thing over and over now. There's just no.
Well, why do you keep misquoting me?
I'm not. I'm not
Why do
even.
you
I'm not
keep
even.
misquoting me?
All we're doing now is talking about the fact that I'm not able to talk.
No, I'm talking about you misquoting me.
Yeah, and I'm talking about the fact that I'm not able to talk.
Please speak, but don't misquote me because I will break in every time you misquote me.
Okay. Let me say this clearly then. Okay, you
Yes,
said
sir.
that you are able to speak for everyone on the planet, but
Yes.
you told me.
Yes.
You told me, stop, let me finish. Come on, you can do it. And it's about 6 words. Let me get a few more out.
I didn't say anything.
You know, okay? But what you told me about was your experience, and then you asked me about my experience. But you proceeded to speak for the other 7 billion people on the planet who you haven't asked about their experience. You do not know how they experience it.
You're misquoting me. Hang on, one quick second. 1 quick second. Not only the 7 billion people on the planet, but anybody who's ever lived on the planet. Go ahead, keep going.
Right, but you don't know what their experience is. You only know your experience.
Can I please try a different approach?
There are 7 billion people on the planet. You don't.
I think we need to try a different approach. Vegan.
Another guy.
Vegan. Here we go. Vegan, tell me this. Is this a universal truth?
Well, hang on before your question.
Okay.
Just to add on to what he said, I totally agree with everything he just said. I am speaking for all 7 billion people on the planet and anyone who has ever existed in history.
How?
I'm speaking for everyone.
I love the confidence with what you say.
I know.
Yes, no one has ever experienced the Earth as a ball.
How do you know?
You should be the supreme leader, Vegan. Okay, but
Hey, I'm not trying to be
You should be the supreme leader.
Who's talking over here? My point is very simple. My point is very simple, right? My point is very simple. I'm not trying to elevate myself over anyone. I am sharing something that we all know is true.
I get that.
That's
How
what makes
do you
it.
know
That's
that
what.
we all know
Let
it?
me
Jeremy,
finish.
wait. Yeah, can
That
I,
we all know is true.
Okay,
that
Bean.
we all. It doesn't even require debate. That's how well
Bean, I get you.
it is. That's how universal
Okay.
it is. But people, let me finish this point. People still try to create an argument towards something that is universally true. That shows you how strong the programming is. Now I'm quiet. Go ahead.
Okay, universal, I think, is the key. Would you consider this a universal truth as well? If I cut my finger, I start to bleed. Is that a universal truth for everybody?
No, just for you.
Okay, so if I fart, it smells. I'm trying to get something that's another universal.
No, that's just for you.
Okay, let's see, what else do we got? I'm trying to think now. If I pull out a teeth, it hurts. Okay.
I can relate. I can relate to that experience, but
See what
I had teeth pulled out and it didn't hurt. Yeah.
Those are kind of like you're saying everybody should experience that because it's so.
I didn't say that. Oh, you talking about the?
And okay, I'm trying to.
You did say that. You said it's a universal truth.
Dude,
Okay,
I'm sure it's hard. It's very hard.
I got a good one.
Maybe we can say-
Colorblind. Like if you look at a leaf at green, would you say that green looks like?
What it comes down to is the simple fact is that he's wrong. Just like Dell, they think they have the objective truth, but it's not the objective truth when you're just plain wrong. Simple. And it goes for Vegan Warrior as well. It's just wrong.
But this doesn't apply. None of these apply. But none of these apply.
It's the
Because
same
we
thing
all-
with the curvature of the Earth.
No, it's not.
Like one person
It
might
is not. There's no
the
person.
It's already curved. Like you might experience the Earth
There's no
as
person
round.
that's experienced it as a curve.
How do you
Because
know that?
if
How
you
do you know
experience
people didn't have crooked eyes back then? Like Chinese people, they think different.
Again, you guys are not applying Occam's razor, obviously, and you are trying to find something to argue about. You want to debunk a universal truth. You can't.
It's not a
You're going to
universal
get
truth.
frustrated. Just like,
Right,
just
you
like
don't
how-
get to use
just
that
like
to
how-
flavor
just
if
like how he
you're
got
assuming a
See,
massive
the reason-
international
see,
conspiracy that lasted 500 years. You don't get off razor.
So the mind wants to think that it can explain the unexplainable, right? How do you explain everyone experiencing the Earth flat? You can't. You can't explain it. It just is. That's just reality.
It just isn't.
It's like trying to explain why a tree is a tree. You know what I mean? You can't explain why a tree is a tree. You can speculate. You can create ideas about it. You can talk about the roots. You can talk about all these different things. You can say the leaves or whatever. But the reality is you cannot explain that which is. We experiencing the Earth flat just is. It's a universal truth. It's a construct of God. It's that simple. But no, your mind wants to create stories and explanations and package it up and label it and put it in a box so you can say you know what it is when you don't. That's the point I'm making. You don't know universal truth.
Well,
I mean,
I say I do know.
You can't explain universal truth. It just is. That's how it is, guys. But no matter how much we try, all we're going to do is get frustrated.
No, how much we're going to get closer to it. Science advances us closer to the universal truth. That is my opinion. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean,
we
that's
do
what you want to.
science.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm being quiet. Go ahead.
No, it's a good conversation. I mean, I can't talk for long because my mic is so shitty anyways, but I'm saying that science advances us inch by inch further towards the universal truth. Like we know now more of this universal truth. We do know more of universal truth than we did 1,000 years ago.
So I got a problem with the word know. I really do. K-N-O-W. You just said we know more about the universe. Really? Right. Do we really know? Or have we speculated more?
Yeah.
Well, that takes us back to your epistemology. What is standard for knowledge? What how do you define knowledge?
Yeah, you
explained
weren't here, Jeremy. Like I said, also Descartes, like cogito ergo sum, I know therefore I am. That's one thing I believe in. The second one was mathematics. I said that's the other universal truth. And besides that being, I don't know if the Earth is like a sphere, but I would say that's the best thing we could come up with. I'm pretty damn sure it is this way. But do I have 100%? No, it's like 99 an infinite number of nines behind that. That's how much I think.
Right, I get it. But we could go with if we went with justified true belief as a standard for knowledge, then I think we are justified.
Okay. I mean, when we talk, see, the difference between belief and knowing something is true there's a big difference. I mean, you can believe something and have no tangible evidence, right? You can believe that something exists, that we have a complete disconnect. Like, for example, science says that there's trillions of stars, right? How could they possibly know that? But a lot of us believe it, right? So the reality of this is you can accept things and pass it off as, accept it and believe things. But my problem with that is when you try to pass it off as truth, something tangible, something universally true to all of us. And I think a lot of us do that. We actually try to convince others that something's true when we have zero experience with it. I think by definition,
how about murder? Murder is always wrong. You could say that.
I mean, under what conditions are you? Well, murder, yes, murder is always wrong because murder is the taking of another person's life unjustly. It's a criminal act. Yeah, but if I kill you out of self-defense, that's not murder.
Yeah, of course, that's not murder. But like, see what I'm saying? It's kind of like I really have a big problem with the word universal in that because it means everything. Because like you do mean everybody on Earth.
I mean everybody. Everybody.
We are on page, but we totally disagree.
What you believe? I mean everybody. I'm not pulling punches.
You just talked over them. Just talked right over them.
And you think, like our perspective, where we are very skeptical of you and your claim that you think you know the mindset of everybody. So that's very grand claim.
I don't know why y'all believe that they know about trillions of stars in the sky. Y'all believe that that the ISS is traveling 17,000 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, you guys believe a whole lot of shit.
Evidence, yes.
Right?
Without personal experience. Without personal experience.
Without personal experience. I just gave you one. Hang on. But I just gave you something with direct experience. And you have problems believing it. Why is that?
Because you haven't, and that isn't true. You don't
have direct experience with the Earth. Right? Don't you have direct experience with the Earth? Why can't you believe me? Because I'm not authority. That's why. I'm not authority.
No.
If I was authority, you would believe it.
It's a simple matter of the philosophy of what you're saying. And you know, you don't have access. You don't have access. You don't have access.
Something the size of a football field traveling 17,000 miles per hour makes more sense to you than you experiencing the Earth flat.
It's not.
Think about that.
But it's not a dichotomy between those two.
And this is what Vegan Warrior is doing. He's manipulating the wordplay here. It's belief and knowledge. It's totally different. Like, you can believe in something. Someone can tell you the Earth's round, and you can believe that. But if you've not looked up the evidence to back that belief, that doesn't really count as knowledge. Fair enough, you believe the Earth's round because you were told by a teacher, or you're taught it, or you read it in a book or whatever. But if you've not experienced it firsthand, it doesn't count as knowledge. But it still doesn't mean you're wrong. The thing is, you could still have a belief that isn't justified with empirical evidence, and you can still be right. It just doesn't count as true knowledge. True knowledge is having the evidence to back up your claims and your beliefs. That's true knowledge, having a belief that's got justified evidence to back it up. And that's what knowledge is. And I think he beats around the bush with this kind of subject, and then he fades off to the ISS traveling at 17,500 miles an hour. He's good at changing the subject like that. And he's trying to say that his subjective view is a universal objective belief. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy. Anyway.
Creator. But also, I think I don't really get the reasoning from that. If we're of this creator, we would have access to universal truths. How I don't know whether that's true. I think if a creator was capable of creating us, something that was capable of creating us,
and even if you have got the knowledge with the evidence to justify it, it doesn't mean it's always 100% true. It's just the best, the closest theory or hypothesis or most logical thing that it could be at that particular moment in time. It doesn't have to be concrete, just like the planet Pluto. That wasn't that was a fact. That was like a known fact, and there was apparently evidence to justify believing in Pluto was a ninth planet. But nowadays they've changed that. Well, it's went back again to a planet. But you can see how it can chop and change.
Well, no, I feel like.
But you never close your mind off completely. You never totally shut down, because then you just turn into a dogmatist like these people.
Speak for myself in this aspect, right? I feel aliveness. I feel aliveness, right? I feel alive. Call that consciousness. I believe my thoughts are just, or my brain or my mind is an aspect of me, but it's not me. I think there's something higher than me that is actually me, and that I call consciousness, true consciousness. The religious probably will call it spirit or soul or whatever, right? Because I know that aliveness that I call consciousness, everything outside of myself that is real, that exists, is detected through the five senses. Because if you take away your sight, your whole world changes. You take away your hearing, your whole world changes. Even if you take away your sense of taste or smell, to know the food you eat, for example, the smell of flowers, your whole world changes. Your external world is driven by your five senses. So to ignore those five senses is to literally from the external world. And I think this creator, or the source, I like to call it the source, because you can't draw a picture of God or whatever. You just see source, right? Equipped us with five senses to engage everything that exists outside of ourselves. How do you engage with the real tangible world, the world that I would like to assume that we all experience, right? How do you know it's actually there? Your five senses. So the five senses is just another tool to engage the external world, while internally, you really don't need your five senses. You just are connected. You just feel aliveness. So the internal world, the self, the external world, everything outside of yourself. That's the way I see it. And I think it's very simple, and I think it's a lot of evidence to support what I just said. Death, and to me, true death, is the losing of your five senses. When you lose your five senses, you're completely detached from the world, the external world. When your body decays to the point where your organs shut down and your heart stops and all that stuff, what is really happening? You're losing your five senses. That's how important the five senses are. But we're conditioned to ignore our five senses. Don't trust our five senses. Believe what someone's telling you. Disconnect from your natural God-given abilities to know what's real. Go into your mind. You know what I mean? I didn't mean to go on that rant, but go ahead.
I'd characterize it differently, and I would say that we know that we understand the limitations of our senses, and we also understand that we're able to use our intellect to overcome those limitations. And I think that that's again, this is a human thing to do. This is what makes us human. It is what separates us from all the other species, you know.
Can I add one thing to what you just said? And just right in line with what you just said. Your intellect cannot develop, cannot have any impact on who you are or your knowing of the external world without first your five senses. Everything that you register in your mind starts with the detection of your five senses. So if you take away your five senses, let's say you take your five senses and put it on the back burner, right? Your mind has the inability to know that which is outside of itself, unless someone tells you. You still need your five senses to be intelligent.
I think someone who had no senses could still know things.
Well, if you took him away after he made the experiences, like a baby born without any senses, I guess he's gonna die anyways. But yeah, he will never have any experience, because I agree with Vegan. Every experience first has to be filtered, so to say, through our senses, and that's why we always only get subjective truth out of it. Vegan, I think you're so close to right, and yet you're so damn wrong. Like a lot of times you're basically arguing against yourself, because you kind of list the limitations of your senses. Like you're saying, if you took that away, it's basically nothing. Like,
right.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's basically arguing against why you should be able to know that everybody experiences the Earth as flat, even if it's just subjective.
And you also used the phrase, I think you said something, I like to assume that, you know, I like to assume the rest of the way the rest of the world experiences it, or something along those lines, which, you know, which I would agree, that is what we do. We make assumptions that our senses and reasoning are acting reliably, and occasionally we check in with our fellow human beings. I guess we're doing that all the time in a way anyway. You know, if we, I don't know, you know, walking down a road, or you know, we're looking at the way other people are walking and responding to what they're doing as well. You know, we're kind of constantly checking in with other human beings to make sure that we're doing, you know, that I guess that what we're doing is effective, you know. But I think that, you know, our senses, you know, we are limited in the way that, you know, if you are hallucinating that you are Napoleon, how can you know that you're not? You know, if that's what your mind is telling you, just like mine tells me that I'm sitting in a Google Hangout with you guys. You know, we know that some people, you know, their mind tells them something different to how the rest of us see what they're experiencing, you know. So we know that senses and reasoning are fallible. Good point. For us to use our intellect, nearly there, to develop tools that help, that assist our senses and reasoning, and enable us to sense more things, like, you know, measure changes in pressure, or you know, small angle changes, or things like that.
Right. You just brought up a very good point. I don't believe the senses are fallible.
What?
Now I know I sound I know I sound very crazy. Guys, Let me explain. Your senses do not explain what it identifies. Your mind interprets what the senses recognize. So if you got a mirage, you're in the desert and you need water or whatever, and it looks like there's an oasis over there, right? Mm-hmm. Your eyes detected something over there, but your mind constructed what's over there. All your errors that you're speaking of that come from your senses aren't, and not your senses. Your senses don't determine anything. You're
kind of saying if you make an error, it's kind of the interpretation of the raw data, and the raw data you're being fed is always 100% true. I totally disagree with that.
Well, you can disagree, but I want you to think about that for a second. When you interpret something,
I know.
When you interpret something, you touch something and it feels hot, right?
Yeah.
And you pull your hand off, and you come to find out it's something that's cold, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
We can come up with a better example than that. Your mind is developing an idea of what that sense has detected. Your senses, all they do is detect things, right?
Yeah, but mind and sense is kind of the same in that instance.
I disagree. I disagree. Your mind is constantly deducing. It's constantly inducting and deducing to determine what something is. That's what your mind does. Right? It does it all the time. Even when you don't want it to do it, it's doing it. Right?
Yeah.
But your senses...
When I talk about these things, I tend to talk about senses and reasoning, because I think, usually we're talking about the
reasonings of the brain. Right. Reasonings of the brain. Right? So the mind reasons. So your sense detects something, and your mind develops an image in your head to say what it is. So when we say our senses are playing tricks on us, we're saying it incorrectly. Our mind is playing tricks on us. See, an intelligent person, what they do is, and this is why intelligent people get so much praise, they are good at determining what their senses have detected. People that are considered to be stupid or not as intelligent don't do that very well. They do the opposite. Yeah,
I think a good example to illustrate this would be drugs. Let's say you take LSD and you see a rainbow-colored lizard walking around. Is that real? An
example I could give, I think the amputees who have experienced phantom limb pain and things like that. Their mind tells them. I guess that you could argue, that is a kind of a product of the previous senses.
In that case, the raw data is wrong. The raw data is wrong.
No, there is no data.
Not just your mind.
In the case of the amputee, there is no data. The mind is going off of past experience.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So if there's no tangible raw data, that tells you how powerful your mind is determining
what about the drugs then? Like your senses can be tampered with. It's
still a product of your mind.
Of course,
it's your mind, it's not your sense. So can your mind create images that appear to be real? Absolutely.
Yes.
It's called hallucination. Right? So nothing's there, but you glance at it again and it looks like something there. Did your eyes play tricks on you, or did your mind manufacture something that wasn't there?
Yeah, I guess it could be all in the mind. You're right about that.
So we blame our senses for the mistakes we make, when in reality, it's our thoughts.
I just wonder if you can really quite separate.
Yeah, but then how's your solution for this, to rely more on our senses that the source gave us or something? How's that going to help there?
That's a very good
point. But it isn't possible to use your senses without using your reasoning. So it doesn't really matter which one of them we determine to be unreliable. The fact is, you have to use them in conjunction, and whether it's one or the other, there is still the possibility for fallibility.
Right. Absolutely. So, this is what I've been a private investigator, police officer, all that, right? One of the things that we learned in investigator school was how to critically think. See, many people, especially some of the stuff we see online, don't know how to critically think. So if you don't know how to critically think, when you run across a stimulus or something that's detected by the five senses, the mind doesn't know how to process it because the mind has not been exercised to know how to deal with the raw data. So a lot of times it falls prey to suggestion. It falls prey to delusion or whatever, you know?
I just heard the part about talking about LSD and what if you see a purple lizard, is it real? Well, I think stuff that is in our minds and our imagination is real or can be real. And a good example of this is the fiat money system, because money has the only value is that which we apply to it in our minds. So it's imaginary, but it's real because I can go buy a fucking hamburger for $5, or, you know. So I just want to make that point and drop out.
Okay.
Good point, man. Good point.
But you guys see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going with this? I'm making a case for the importance of our five senses,
even the stock market.
But I'm also pointing out the true limitations we have. I don't believe our limitations start with the five senses. I believe our limitation starts with the inability to critically think.
But let me ask you this: as your time being a cop or a private investigator, was there a time when you investigated a crime where, at the end of your investigation, you felt that you knew who had done it?
Right. Yes.
And yet, so it seems to me, in that case, you accepted a body of evidence that unless you actually were there yourself. If you were investigating something that you weren't in attendance at originally, then you would accept a body of evidence that would result in you being able to say that you know something to be true. That is the person.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. That's exactly how.
And I just think that you would say that critical thinking comes within that. I think, and I. Right.
Yeah, there's a method to critical thinking.
And I just think that that's what we're doing. We accept a body of evidence, and we accept that, when we're doing that, we take various things into account, the reliability of the sources that we're getting it from, and, their past reliability and that kind of thing. And I just think, it's reasonable to do that. And I think we have to do that. I think you sort of do that when you buy a loaf of bread. You trust that, the guy that made it knows how to make it properly and, didn't poison it, or, you rely on his skills as a baker, or, the car mechanics, or the cosmologist, whoever it may be.
Are you kidding? Like where we are going with automated travel and artificial intelligence, there's going to be so much trust we have to put into
Damn, Otto, he keeps going out.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting.
Let me go a little bit. All right, the five senses is our means of detecting that which is outside of ourselves, right? That's the beginning stage, right? The next stage is our deductive and inductive reasoning. To your point, you brought up a very good word, reasoning, to use that raw data and shape it so we can develop an idea of the thing itself, right? For the most part. Now, the problem with humanity, in my opinion, this is subjective opinion, right? My opinion is that most of us do not have a very good filter to interpreting the raw data. See, I was going to use the police stuff as an example. The beginning stages of trying to know if something's true or not is answering four fundamental questions, beginning with four fundamental questions. That's who, what, when, and where. Now, we've all heard of this before, but I don't think we've heard it in this context. Who, what, when, where are all constructs of reality. Why is not a construct of reality. How is not always a construct. Now you can answer why, you can answer how, but they go on the back burner until you can identify the who. If you can't identify the who, you can't put a tangible person in the understanding of the information that you're dealing with, for example. So let's say a person is found dead, right? And you don't have identification of who the person is that's on the ground is dead, right? You have to answer the question of who. Like, who is this person that was killed? Who is the person who killed them? Were there any other people that were with her? Were there, witnesses to the crime or whatever? Mm-hmm. What exactly happened? What exactly is being claimed? What exactly is being stated? Then, answering the questions of time. Where? Answering the question of location. Those 4 W's are the beginning stages of going to discover what's true. Now, most of us, when we get information, especially when they taught us stuff in school, and also when we get our information from, online or whatever, a lot of times we're being fed the rhetoric, the how, the why something occurred. And very rarely are we drilling down on the who, the what, the when, and the where. As long as you don't have the who, what, when, and where, it's almost like you can't truly ever know what's true and what's not true. Like, for a good example, a lot of people talk about the Illuminati, right? The Illuminati did this, Illuminati did that, Illuminati. Now, I'm not saying Illuminati doesn't exist. I'm saying, who's the Illuminati? What exactly are they doing? And what control tools do they have in place? When, where, whatever. When you drill down on the who, what, when, and where, you can now get closer to putting that person in handcuffs or doing whatever we're going to do to stop them from doing what they're doing against humanity. Just with the money system and this, we skip the tangible questions to discover the truth about something. And when we do that, we become ineffective. We become complainers versus people that can tangibly resolve many of the issues that we have before us. But because we don't address those first 4 questions, we're just chasing our tail. And that's the way I see this stuff. I see a lot of us chasing our tail because we get information, but we can't authenticate the information because we usually don't answer who, what, when, and where. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take that much time to explain.
No, I think you make a good point. I don't disagree with you. I guess what I would say is, though, I guess people bother to do that for the things that they're bothered about. So right. I think, for instance, my thing is, one of the things I tend to do a lot is I argue in favor of the moon landings. And right. Because I do this and because I'm asked a lot of questions about it, I'm really well researched on it. And I've made sure I am. I've had to be because so I guess on that issue, because it's something that that interests me and that I'm bothered about, I do know the who, the what, the where, I do know those things. Okay. But I think, as I say, it depends on what we're interested in. And I think that probably the sort of things that you're talking about, that, wider issues like, currency and this sort of thing, I think you're right. I think most people, I think a lot of this, people feel disenfranchised. They feel that they can't affect these things. So they just put them out of their mind and they just think, well, I can't do anything about it anyway, so I'll just live my life, and I'll deal with especially my front gates,
Especially if they're taught that they're not smart enough to know it. So that's in my opinion, that is a control technique to get people to shy away from knowing the truth. If you tell me that it's all complicated and only the smart people know it, that to me is a red flag. It's a red flag.
I just think, but isn't that a natural condition of things that, you know, going back to my sort of baker and my car mechanic, you know, there are, you know, each of us we only have time to develop so many skills, or most of us, right? You know, some people can do loads of different things, can't they? But, you know, most of us are good at a few things, you know, and then we rely on you know, our fellow humans to be good at others, and between us all, you know, again, as humanity as a whole, you know, that's one of the things that drives us forward, the fact that we're able to share our skill set, you know.
Yeah, I understand how it's being done, but what if we did it in reverse? What if instead of blindly accept, to your point, to the things we care about, the things we don't care about, none of this applies, right? But the stuff we care about, what if we did it in reverse, where, you know what, you can't just tell me something, right? You need to provide me the evidence for it. And once you provide the evidence, I will authenticate it. I'll run it through my filter. And when I run it through my filter and compare it to my knowing of my experiences or whatever, only then will I accept it. Why blindly accept up front? Why not have them earn acceptance? You know, you're still being humane. You're still being connected. You know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I feel like science direct from authority when it is not. Like the scientific process, it takes a long time for it to control it. Not like they got many.
Dude, you killing me. You killing me, man, because you bringing up so many good points, but it's like your headset keeps messing up.
I'm so sorry, man.
Yeah, man, I really wish I could hear you. You know,
try reducing bandwidth, Otto. You know, at the top you can reduce the bandwidth you're using. That might help.
I got it on 0. It's just I don't know what it is.
Now we hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It always keeps getting me out.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I don't know what's blocking out. It really sucks. I apologize for that, guys.
No, you're good. Well, I think I heard you say that science is not an authority, but I would beg to differ. You know, they are authority because they lay the foundation of what is a scientific claim versus what is not a scientific claim.
They have to get there, and the getting there is a really difficult part of peer reviewing and retesting. Like the whole second I was talking about that you were dismissing because and everything was focused on the experience, 5 senses. You're totally dismissing the objective like part, the experimental or empirical part, per se, like objective reality. And that point really would, I mean, how do I say that?
Actually, I'm agreeing with you. I mean, if someone's doing experiments and they're showing something to be true, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's tangible. It's detectable. It's true. I'm not arguing against experiments or scientific experiments. You're breaking up. You're breaking up again.
But you see, you know, I would make the very simple argument here then that, you know, space flight, you know, that is effectively a repeated experiment, and, you know, photographs taken on it are you know, recordings of the observations made during that experiment, you know.
It's just suspect. No, it's just so suspect. They're so suspect. You don't see how you doubt it. You don't see our position.
Well, of course, you can have doubts about them, but I think, you know, if you're going to do that, then you would have to take each photograph on its merit, or each bit of video, and you would have to assess each one. And what I see flat earthers do, and again, I think this is sort of one of the cornerstones of flat earth, is that you have to reject every single image from space. You have to, if you're going to accept anything has been into space, then you're accepting all sorts of things. You know, orbital mechanics. You know, Newtonian physics. You know, all of these things have to be the case if you're accepting that we've managed to, you know, put a rocket or a spacecraft into orbit from a rocket.
It's
So you have no choice but to reject it all.
The only reason, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, well, just to finish, I think that, you know, you have no choice but to reject all of it. You have to. And I think that, you know, I don't think many people are in the position to do that. I don't think.
Yeah, there's no controllers of the flat Earth movement. I mean, there's a lot of people posing as controllers. What it is, it's a lack, well, for me, I can only speak for me. It's a lack of trust.
Yeah.
I don't trust, because I don't, like you said, you need to go through all the information and you know, authenticate if it's true or not. To me, if anything is fake about it goes out as tainted. I don't think the government should ever lie to the people, me personally. And I think they lied about the moon missions, and that's why other countries haven't been there. I really believe that.
Yeah. I think
it's all subjective. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you, man. Yeah. Sorry, get it in there, Otto, quick.
A little bit.
Did we lose him again?
Yeah, we lost you.
Yeah, but
I don't hear you at all, man.
I mean, I know for a lot of people, you know, I often find when I debate with flat earthers, please don't think I'm continually characterizing you as a flat earther.
No,
I mean,
I guess technically I am, but I like to call myself a realist, you know?
Right, but I often...
It sounds cooler to me.
I often think that you know, often when I find I'm in conversations with people, they'll often run the check of, so do you believe the moon landings are real? And once I say yes, then off the back of that, they'll dismiss me and say, well, you've swallowed the red pill, or it's whichever pill it is.
I'm not going to do that to you.
And you just believe everything you're told. And I really don't. You know, I honestly believe there is a good body of independent evidence that supports the idea that these events occurred. And I think the reasonable belief is that, is to say that they did occur, and that's why I believe it to be true. And I have gone to some lengths to verify as you know, as much as a person can. That they did occur, and I'm not saying in that I can prove 100% that they couldn't possibly have been faked. I can't do that. But I can say that at least it's reasonable to believe that they did happen. There's plenty of evidence, such as
you're saying that you've come across enough evidence that gives you more proof that they did do it versus that they didn't do it.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, I get it. You know, and you know what? I don't think ill of anybody on either side of the street. I really don't. I don't want you to think I'm the kind of flat earther that believes that all global earthers are stupid, right? No, I don't. Because if you look at the title here, I'm questioning the flat earth model as well. I mean, I don't believe in the flat earth model. I told you why I view myself as a flat earther. So, but you know what? Most of my flat earther folks, they don't agree with that. They don't agree that's enough. Just like you guys don't agree that it's enough. They don't agree it's enough either. They think I should be looking at other evidence.
Well,
but I don't see other evidence. I'm sorry.
Right. I'm
what
sorry.
You say, Otto?
Yeah, talk quickly, Otto.
We did agree there's one objective reality, right? Either the flat earthers or the others have to be right, or both have to be wrong. Like, cannot be right at the same time.
It has to be one or the other or neither. Is basically what he said.
I think it's a third choice. We're both wrong. Flat Earth and globe.
Those three.
Right.
Like either we're wrong, they are wrong, or
well, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, what I mean by that, I'm talking about the model itself, you know. But then again, how could we know? Who's going to authenticate it? I guess from you guys' perspective, you guys are saying science are going to authenticate that the science is right and flat Earth is wrong.
I mean, I think there are some things you can verify for yourself. I think the easiest one, and you've probably heard it a million times now, but I do think that two celestial poles, you know, that I think that is perfectly explained by a globe, and you know,
right.
I can't imagine another shape that explains it.
Let me ask you the same thing I asked Tim. Are you saying that in the southern hemisphere or the South Pole, they cannot see the North Star?
That's correct, yeah. You can't see it below the equator.
Okay. All right.
I
didn't know that. I need to check that out.
Right, but I think this is an important bit of evidence, because the North Star, if you were standing at the North Pole, it would be effectively directly above your head, more or less.
Right.
And as you move south to the equator, it gets closer and closer to the horizon. Until you reach the equator, and it will be at the horizon. And so that angle that we see it at above the horizon, this angle of declination, matches your latitude on Earth, matches how far south you've travelled from the North Pole. So, you know, so that is consistent with the globe model. And then once we get south of the equator, we could do the same with Sigma Octantis in the south, although it's a very much dimmer star, so it's much more difficult to see. But it is there, and you could see the other stars rotating around it, and and we would see them, effectively rotating above our head at the equator, which is exactly what we'd expect to see on a globe. And I think it's really very difficult to explain on any kind of a flat Earth.
Let me.
Well, somebody don't like Otto. So, have you ever heard flat earthers discuss the North Star and the South Pole?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that people say. Eric Debay's got a video on it. His position on the North Star is that he says that it's declination, that is that change in angle or a change in distance above the horizon as we get further south. He says that is an effect of perspective, but yeah, I don't really see how that works.
I need to research that, because that's one topic I've never looked at.
And he makes the claim about the South, and a lot of flat earthers sort of take this position, is that it isn't how they're telling us, and there isn't a celestial pole. But I mean, there are even flat earthers. There's a guy called CKA Mark. I don't know if you've come across him. He's a New Zealander. But he's filmed. You can't see Sigma Octantis because they say it's a very dim star, but you can see the southern crux in rotation, that group of stars that's on the Australia and the New Zealand flags. You could see that rotating. He's filmed that. And I mean, obviously, there's loads of photographs of it, but the flat earthers, deny they're on the southern pole, or say they're pointing in a different direction, or they dispute what's going on. So
right. Well, my problem with the flat earth, and I hope I'm not giving you guys damn ammunition, is the ice wall. I have a serious problem with the concept of an ice wall, mostly because the whole concept of the ice wall is the ocean's back.
The concept of an ice wall is he's got serious problems with, but he's not got serious problems with flat Earth.
Down to the sea floor, the ocean floor, and the thickness of this wall. 'Cause the thickness of this wall is 100 feet. 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 100 you know. And you know how people talk about beyond the wall and, you know, more lands and stuff. I don't even go there. I'm just thinking about a construct so massive that it can hold back all the oceans on this flat plane. I have a problem with the wall. I really do. I have a serious problem with the ice wall. And I was just wondering what I was talking to a bunch of flat earthers earlier, and I wanted to know what their opinions were. Not too many people had opinions on it. And I also understand that Flat Earth does not look at that as their official model either.
No.
But there are a lot of them that believe it though. You know, so
Yeah.
But then you have the infinite plane people, and then you have the, you know, the firmament
Little
people.
theory and that sort of thing, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think
I'm sorry.
well, my objection to it is that there's always this claim made about the Antarctic Treaty banning independent travel.
Right.
And, you know, you can read the Antarctic Treaty and it doesn't ban independent travel. And it really isn't, you know, it really isn't directed at people in a way. You know, it's about the way nations behave. You know, it's on that kind of a level. And there is detail in there about how much fuel they can have there and this kind of thing. And but it just doesn't ban independent travel.
I just don't understand, why not have a Lewis and Clark expedition of people going down there? You know what I mean? It's unexplored land for the most part. Why not allow it? What's the big deal?
Well, I don't think they are stopping people. I just think it's pretty inaccessible. I don't think it's very useful, a lot of it, in a lot of ways. I mean, this, I don't know, is it 7 countries or 11 countries that have got bases? It's quite, you know, I know USA has, and I know the UK has. I think New Zealand had, don't they, and probably Chile or Argentina or something like that. So, you know, I know there are all these bases there, but I just think it's a really, you know, most of the time it's a pretty uncomfortable place to be. It's difficult to get to. You know,
If there was an ice ring, guys, imagine how many boats would have to guard it. If you look at the flat Earth map and look at the ice ring, think of how many thousands and thousands of boats would have to guard this place. It's absolute bullshit.
would it be economically viable to have coal mines in the Antarctic? You know, I kind of doubt it, you know.
Well, all that speculation, if they have people that want to explore it, they should let them, you know. But someone just brought up a very good point in the chat. And Maya Ventures, thank you very much. She says, vegan, would it work, I guess that's what she's saying. Would it work if you consider that it's land that borders the ocean with ice on top of it? That's interesting. Yeah, so maybe there's land to the model that continues the plane, I guess. And that the ice wall that they speak of is only sitting on top of land. That's what she's saying. I never considered that. Yeah. Anyway, again, either way, I think it's all speculation. See, what gives you guys the leverage, that's probably the right word for it, the leverage to lead with the globe Earth model, is the fact that you were presented evidence, tangible evidence of human beings in space taking pictures. I think nothing gets more. There's nothing to
see. This is what they do all the time. They consider ballers evidence for for a globe images from space, and that's not right. I've done everything empirically to prove to myself that the Earth's a ball. And it kind of starts with the moon, guys. If anyone knows anyone that stays in the equator or the southern hemisphere, the next time there's moon phases, take photos and compare. When I was taking those photos of the moon phases, I had a friend in the Emirates. was like Saudi Arabia sort of area. And when I was seeing the moon as a crescent, he was seeing a moon as a bullhorn. So, like, how does that work on a flat Earth? How can I see a moon crescent and at the same time he's seeing a bullhorn moon? How does that work on flat Earth? And that's when it started to click. It's not flat. And that's that.
A few times, I think a lot of people kind of get where I'm coming from, but I still get the sort of, you know, abject ridicule when I say, "Oh yeah, I think the moon landings happened."
Even people that believe that the Earth is a globe don't believe in the moon landings, right?
Well, yeah, that's right, and I think that's often why it's used as something I call it a so, well, you know, they're expecting you to believe that was faked, and if you don't, then you're a sheep, you know, and it really isn't like that. It is. You know, I understood once I got on this sort of crazy ride that this is something I was going to have to be able to actually justify, to be able to say I'm justified in believing this to be true, and that's where I went. But I understand why other people can't say they are as justified.
Well, have you looked at the technology problem as well? Like, the amount of technology that was required to actually get the lunar onto the surface of the moon. Do you see problems with that, or you don't see problems in that either?
You're talking about computing power.
Yeah, computing power, the materials of the limb itself. I mean, all that. Do you think that it's justified to question that stuff? Hello? Still there? Hello? Jeremy. All right. Well, that's a good segue. Because I've been on this chat way too long. Jeremy, come back if you're still here so we can end the show. All right, guys. You guys got some jewels in this particular hangout.
Oops.
Jeremy, you still
Sorry
there?
about that. Yeah,
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna give you the last word because I'm gonna start wrapping it up. Then I'm gonna.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was just saying, this Apollo guidance computer had this hardware program system. That's how they built it. So it didn't load and run programs in the same way as a modern computer, and that's why it was able to do what it did with a lot less memory. And the other point is, very quickly, most of the computing was actually done on IBM mainframes on Earth, and then they just sent that data to the astronauts and they stuck it in the computer and it reacted. So that was kind of how a lot of it was done.
So are you saying those fuckers had Wi-Fi before we had Wi-Fi?
It was no. I mean, they would give them over the radio. They would read out a series of numbers and they would input those into the computer.
Right. So radio waves could actually.
Yeah, it was. They kind of had. They ran three systems to do the guidance. So they had sort of back on Earth doing it, but within the spacecraft, they had what they called the inertial management unit, I think. But basically, this was a big gyroscope system. It's actually 3 gyroscopes, and that was, that.
That's the end. That's the end. The old vegan warrior. He spoke for 8 hours. Jesus, man, that guy can talk. But it just seems to be the same old rhetoric, and it's the same rhetoric that Dell uses. Dell from Beyond the Imaginary Curve. This empirical, and like I said, Descartes, the French philosopher Descartes, played with this idea and nearly went crazy. And they're just reintroducing it into the flat Earth. because flat earthers can't prove their belief with science anymore, they're going right down this philosophical kind of argumentative style, which a lot of the scientific guys kind of they can't argue with it because they're so used to using the scientific method. But it goes beyond your senses, guys. And the vegan warrior, Dell, this is why they're successful at what they do, by using this empirical rubbish. If people just study some philosophy and realize that empiricism is good to a certain degree, but humans are faulty. We have our faults. We hallucinate, we have dreams. We can't always trust our senses all the time. Especially if it's just your own sense, not like a group of people and stuff. So it just seems to be the same, and it's frustrating because you hear people debating with Vegan Warrior, and he seems to be quite a nice guy. He does. He seems to be a nice guy. But that was the tactic Cathexis used. It was like the old nice guy tactic. They would soften you up with, "You're right, you're correct, I agree." And you hear Vegan Warrior saying this a lot. "You're right, you're correct, I agree." But at the same time, totally disagree. He'll go on a rant and then totally disagree with you. So it's all manipulation, man. I don't think this guy believes the Earth's flat. If he does, it's just on a philosophical basis, because his 8 hours tonight, if he listens back and gathers, if he's truthful to himself, Vegan Warrior, and listens back to that hangout and all the evidence that Tim presented, Jeremy, and all the other chaps that were on the hangout, if Vegan Warrior goes back and researches every piece of evidence that they believe justifies why they believe in a sphere, if Vegan Warrior does the same, and it's the same again, it's like he'd be quite convinced, Vegan Warrior, at the beginning of the broadcast, they said to be quite convinced if you couldn't see Polaris from the South Pole. But what's the difference with seeing the Southern Crux from the Northern Hemisphere? If we can all agree that the Southern Crux exists, just like Polaris exists, we shouldn't be able to see the Southern Crux from the Northern Hemisphere, just like you shouldn't see Polaris from the South. It's always this, all right, and it's like they'll never go to the Southern Hemisphere. They'll never even go to the equator. So that argument can just keep going on. But if you just say to them, well, can you see the Southern Crux? Find out if the Southern Crux exists, first of all. Because there's people like amateurs, photographers, photographing the Southern Crux in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia. And it's nothing to do with flat Earth, it's just photography. Some of these people aren't even massive star fans, or they just enjoy the photography itself. And there's thousands of videos, guys, on YouTube. Tiny channels, big channels, but they all show the Southern Crux and the stars rotating clockwise. So if you can establish that the Southern Crux exists, should you be able to see it from the Northern Hemisphere? No, and we can't. So this argument that they should go to the Southern Hemisphere and see if they can see Polaris is bullshit, because it's the same, it's the other way around as well. You just have to establish if the two poles exist. And if you establish that, well, it's a ball. I just think it's just a play on words. It's a lot of philosophical stuff. That's Ken Cathexis was all about that stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to push my merch, my Flat Earth merch. You see this? Infinite Plane Society. This is how it's done. This is how it's done. Witty. Wit. It's catchy. See? See my logo there? I'm not hiding. That's my name. That's my real name. You like that? Well, prices start, guys, because there is only one. There is only one. This is limited edition. Validation boy, this is limited edition. I'll even sweat in it a wee bit for you. Get a wee bit sweaty for you. And you can have my BO for free. So prices start at 100 quid, guys. 100 pounds. That might be a wee bit over $100. So get the bids in chat and we'll see what happens. Infinite Plane Society. I know you want this t-shirt, but you're not getting it. It doesn't even, if you offer me 500 quid for it, you're not getting it, man. You're just Weasley, man. You're just Weasley. That's the end of him anyway. Vegan warrior. Vegan warrior. Vegan warrior who feeds his dog vegetables. Is that objectively cruel to dogs? I think so. And we have all the shells of flat Earth. This is how we know the flat Earth isn't big, people. Come on, we all know each other. How many movements or scenes on YouTube are so personal like this? Like, we know each other. We don't really know each other, but I mean, we recognize our names, we recognize the way we type, what we're going to type. A lot of people are predictable and it's the same rubbish all the time. It's crazy. That proves that this is a small scene, I think. Jed, Infinite Plane Society says, Jed Skeptic, I could convert to Globetard and convince more flatties to go globe in one day than you've done in 2 years. Sure. The problem is, people already believe in the globe. Even flatties. Even flatties believe in the globe. It's like they just want to ignore it because they like this community. It's all about the community and how people feel. How it makes them feel. It's nothing to do with the shape. There's certain people that can't think scientifically and logically, so it's just the gut feeling, how it makes them feel. And this is who the charlatans are aiming for. The emotional people. Anyway, I'm going to have a look, see what else is on. See what else is on. This hillbilly still on running his mouth. He should have got off YouTube by now. He's got a cheek even hanging around, man. Hillbilly. Is Jamie Brown still on? Jesus Christ, man. What are they saying?
Might just be a bit, I don't know, slightly obnoxious. I mean, it's cool and stuff, but
the problem from where you live, aren't you? Like if you want a rougher skate, you've got to stop across there because you've got to adapt to where you live. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you come.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that probably it is that they want to kind of, stand up for the black community and things like that, but
fit in at the same time with everybody else, isn't it? That's sort of thing. Like, I'm not coming across like a victim of anything.
Yeah, so it's maybe hard for them.
Flat out elected. Who the hell's this? Oh, MG Pillbox, man. Oh.
The center of this magical ball, everything equally around it, and no matter where you're going, actually, right, you're always going down.
Wow, he just doesn't shut up. MG Pillbox. That's what I'm saying, guys. This is a tiny scene. I know everyone. I'm recognizing all the new faces that pop in because you know everybody. When you see a new face, it stands out. It could be just a new sock account, but this is shrinking, people. This scene is shrinking. IPS could tell you it's shrinking because he's probably made about 100 quid on it. That's the thing, IPS. Flat earthers, if they really want anything, it's truth. They don't want your merchandise. And what happened to your crucifixion of Lord Stephen Christ? Did you crap yourself, mate? Did you crap yourself? Did you think his CGI sword was real? Did you think his CGI sword was real? You're a coward. IPS, you're a coward. Flat Earth Kids Club. Christ's sake, man! See if guys, there's a thing here. Flat Earth Kids Club. What? Do they sound like kids? Jesus Christ, man. It's me. Anyway, like I said, this was just a wee, I'm just selling my stuff. I'm going to be walking the streets, guys. Going up to people and going, Earth is flat, cause water, and running away. This is going to be my street interview style. I'm going to have my gimbal with me. I'm going to go up to people and go, Earth is flat cause water, and just run away. What do you think, guys? I want to go for a different aim at this, guys. Sounds good. Right, screen share. Let's have a wee look at Martin one more time before I hit the sack. Hey, Martin boy, Martin. Wait till he gets coloured in and he's getting some audio. I'll make the layer behind him, the background layer, just one layer. Still got tons to do though. Nearly 200 frames of old Martin. I think Martin will like it, to be honest with you, that somebody took the time. I'm going to go back over it, tidy it up. I just had to push out so many today. I think I've done 80 frames today, so it's a work in progress. Hopefully it's finished by June. This is going to star a few of our characters in Flat Earth. Martin's one of them. There's going to be 3 or 4 other people who will star in this. I really want kind of eccentric people. I like sort of eccentric characters. There's no point in having Bob on or something like that. I wouldn't do an animation of Bob. Just boring. Who else? I think Political Hillbilly, he's definitely up there. He's definitely up there to be animated. Who else? There are some characters. Antonio Subarats, he's a character, eh? I'm sure he said I'm sure I can get a nice 30-second piece of video of Antonio, our friend Antonio, saying something really outlandish. I think it's going to be good, but it's going to be a lot of work. So I'm going to have to sell these t-shirts for 100 quid each, guys. So if you want my Earth is Flat t-shirt, cause water, they're 100. They start at 100 quid. If I've worn them, they go for 110. Free to Validation Boy though, because I know he just wants to sniff me. So Lord Stephen Christ can have one of these t-shirts for nothing since he's the Lord. He's still alive. IPS never crucified him. But I think you're going to see a couple of our friends in my animation. So that's 2:15. I think I'm going to hit the sack. It was good actually listening to Jeremy and Tim again. I think I'll need to have a hangout with you guys sometime, but not anytime soon because I'm really busy. Look at our Martin there. You gotta love him. I think he looked better there with his long hair. £100. Come on, it's flat Earth. £100. Guys, this t-shirt is worth £100. Come on. Easy. It's limited edition. There's only going to be this one. This is a one of a kind. It's not even been washed yet. It's right at the packaging. I shouldn't really be wearing it. Did you want to see the back, guys? Yeah. Try and get the YouTube backlight on. Get that. Get the back. See that? £100. That's a pro t-shirt. It's £100. It's got the Jed brand on it, guys. Come on. Flat Earthers, I love it. I know Globers won't buy it. They're too smart. But Flat Earthers, I could sell this for £100 to Flat Earthers, I reckon. £100, easy. Aye, that's a good question. Where's the map? Where's the balloon launch, by the way? Where is Globebuster's balloon launch? What happened to that? They were looking, I can remember when they first got that super chat, guys. Or maybe the second time they got the super chat. And I remember Bob laughing. Ha 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 ha. He couldn't believe that there was money coming in through the super chat. And then he was going through all the cameras. He was going to get 3 $30 cameras to send up with the balloon, and then fizzled away. Star Rock, I want one, Jed, if you wash it first. So many sellout artists, actors and musicians pushing the psyop, just like the CIA hippie. Muscle Car Rock Lover, are you even real anymore? You repeat it all the time. It's like I didn't get where you get this artists and musicians, and I think to be honest, people who put themselves on camera, because my missus wouldn't do this. So I think people that actually put themselves out there are the kind of types that probably will be artists, musicians, probably eccentric types, people that want to express themselves. So you probably will find the majority of people that are putting their face out there or quite active as a channel probably are musicians, artists, or do something. So I wouldn't hold that against them. All the ones banning flat earthers, Jem. Yvette failed. IPS, were you in the army? I heard they clean the buckets in the army. Anyway, guys, I've had enough of this. Been up early. Have a good night.